Great. All right, so just like I mentioned the last time, if you were here or got to catch up on that last video, the idea behind these live meetings, well, this year's an experiment. Last year we had all of our instructional time in live classes, and this year I figured why duplicate that work, because some people were watching them archived anyway, and let's have those classes archived, but it is nice to have face-to-face time where we can kind of get live questions and answers. And of course, in the ancient view of Qigong, there's this thing they call transmission. So one idea of that, they say, maybe some kind of energy frequency gets transmitted, but you could also think, if that is not evidence-based enough for you, we could look at some various evidences of that. But if that's not evidence-based enough for you, you could think of it as like having the body language transmitted, having the tone of voice transmitted from someone who has steeped in these practices. There's something to the like cognitive learning that we do of I go blah, 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 blah. This is a meridian, blah, 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 blah. This is a extraordinary vessel. And that's cute. But then they say there's also this whole other kinesthetic learning that's happening on the subconscious level. So this kind of live meeting can also help with that because it's a little more back and forth, hopefully, than just the transmission from the teacher. So like before, what we'll do, we have a couple of our year 2 folks, some graduates from this year 1 program are here. And I'll just remind those, this is primarily a space for the year 1 folk, but the year 2 are invited so that they can keep learning too. And so we'll do a little check-in and sort of Q&A about this month's material. And then we'll go into a live practice session and a little introduction to the upcoming module. Sound like fun? Good times? All right, cool. So let's do a little check-in just all together. How did you find your experience with the Meridian Qigong and Taoist Yoga course? Anything stand out for you? Any outlying questions? Anything that was extremely frustrating to you that I should really take notes on for the next time I teach this course? What do you say? Anything to say about this last month? Looks like not. If there's no check-ins, we just have to do a 2-hour practice today. So sorry. What do you say, Jim?
My sciatica, which has been about 5 weeks into a sciatica attack. I'm wondering if the meridian, if a clogged meridian could be part and parcel of it, or is it purely physical?
Yes, in Chinese medicine, because I'm a Chinese medical massage therapist is one of my trainings, right? So in Chinese medical massage, when we help a person address a sciatica condition, we always look at, like what's the causative factor, right? So some people, they bent over, twisted, and then lifted something way too heavy, and that sort of blew out a lumbar disc or something, right? Like that would be, we might say, like a mostly physical causation of that injury, right? Or somebody they might wear their wallet in their right back pocket and then drive a lot. And so they're activating their glute muscles. And they're also pressing on the sciatic nerve as it comes out through the butt. Can you guys hear me? My internet connection is a little wonky. Okay, just making sure. So then we would also say that that's almost a purely physical cause of that sciatica, right? It's just, something pressing on a nerve, something rupturing disc material, etc. But we always assume in Chinese medicine that it may be that part of the body was weakened by an internal energetic imbalance. So in the lower back, that's related to the kidney meridian, to the sexual energy. to the second chakra, if we're talking like mind-body correspondence, even if we don't go to subtle energy, because not everybody believes in all that business, but even just the mind-body correspondence, if you've got challenging relationship with intimacy or creativity or sexuality or power, that part of the body can hold those tensions. And then when you move wrong, oh, there it goes. So the thing we'll look at in the Chinese medical massage tradition is whether it was physical in origin. Well, if you get injury or pain in there, you're going to cause a constriction of qi and blood, and so it'll affect those meridians anyway. Or if it was energetic in origin, that ripples down and causes changes on the physical. So in general, we always address both. The physical, you would check, and this is sort of beyond your scope as level 1 Qigong instructors, but hopefully just interesting to think about, how do we look at conditions like sciatica, right? Like this would be stuff we would look at kind of in like a 3rd or 4th year course in medical Qigong. So, but we would look at there are kind of 2 main causes for sciatic nerve pain. One is in the lower back, and it's where the lumbar discs are pressing on the nerve roots as they exit the lower back. The other one is in the hip, and it's called false sciatica because it's where the piriformis muscle impinges on the sciatic nerve. So if we were here together, I would do orthopedic tests, and we would try to figure out which one is it. But on the physical level, what I do for true sciatica is we tend to do like little baby cobra exercises, or laying with a rolled towel under the back to reestablish the proper curve of the lumbar spine. So what you might do in our Qigong repertoire is like the kidney from the 8 brocades, touching the toes to strengthen the kidneys and the loins, but you wouldn't round the back. You would stick your duck butt out and fold forward enough to stretch your hamstrings. And then you would come up and you'd like draw energy into those kidneys, and you would arch the back up like you were trying to take those vertebrae and separate them and make space. So, if you were here for a massage, I would do massage techniques that do that give traction, that establish proper lumbar curve. And the idea is that actually can sort of vacuum the lumbar disc material back in and off of your nerve. What a freaking relief. So, and then if we were doing the massage treatment, I would do all of that. I would do local work to bring circulation to those muscles and stuff like that. But mostly it would be releasing the hamstrings, restoring proper curvature, and vacuum the disc material back in the spine. But then I would do a treatment to build the kidneys, or to build the dantian's capacity to hold, or the belt meridian, the belt vessel in that area. Because what I've found in my practice is if I do the massage, it lasts like 3 days.
Yep.
If I do the medical Qigong with that and then prescribe, although we don't diagnose, treat, or prescribe, don't tell the FDA, but recommend a Qigong that the client does and they do it, the results last 5 or 7 days. So you always add back in, even if you're like, oh, it's just an injury, you always add back in that kidney meridian. So that's for true sciatica. For false sciatica, it tends to be the gallbladder meridian, the urinary bladder and gallbladder meridian. So the famous point is gallbladder 30, right in the middle of the butt cheek, and underneath the glute max is piriformis, and that's who crimps off the sciatic nerve as it goes down your leg. So in that, what I have clients do is either you get a tennis ball and you lay on that spot, or you can just take your fist and you kind of lean sideways and your fist goes right in it. I learned that from Michael Reed Gock's Acu Yoga book long ago. So you would do that, and then you would do a supine twist, stretch out that butt muscle. And that is a meridian Qigong on the gallbladder all by itself. But then you could add in any other Qigong for the gallbladder. So you could do the part from the master sequence where we do the twisty dragon thing, and then beating the drum and the shh. or you could do the punching with angry eyes, um, or you could do any of the meridian tracing from our course, right? And so then you would have the physical, which is just release the piriformis muscle, try to reestablish balance in your pelvis so it doesn't freak out anymore. But you'd also get the uh, metaphysical, the paraphysical. Let's coin some terms. Paraphysical, which would be like in that you'd be like, okay, well, how am I with decision making? Have I had a bunch of like decisions to execute? Am I being like a type A middle management guy in my life or something like that? And then you might even do the inner work that clears the gallbladder channel and help that to regulate faster. So that's the quickest I could make that answer. There's like 8,000 years of theory we could do on that, but it's kind of fun, right? Does that give you some leads?
Yes. The massages, I'm getting massages. They're working great. Chiropractor's helping.
Mhm.
I guess naturally I don't have much of a curve there in my spine.
Yeah.
As per the X-rays, there's um, maybe it's genetic.
Mhm.
Um, and I've been working on clearing, building energy in the kidneys.
Yeah.
But these suggestions help. I'm
Yeah.
able to get relief from it using restorative yoga poses and then Qigong, doing the 8 brocades. And
Nice.
then I do the self-love kata,
Mhm.
and I wrap it in gauze.
Yeah, that's exactly what you do.
In,
You've intuited the medical qigong
yeah,
technique. They will learn this in a couple of years, but they call it a qigong cast.
yes.
And for any unstable joint structure, what they do, they'll imagine like pulling down a ball of light, and then you just shape that. Like if my
Uh-huh.
elbow had tendon issue, loose joint in my elbow, you would put that and you shape that around the joint with the intention that it like holds it. So that's what we actually do for like a weak belt vessel or weak
Okay.
dantian leading to true sciatica. Okay, so
Well, and
for
it
I'll dig into
happened to coincide with signing papers for new construction on a house.
that is gallbladder, and if there's fear, it's kidney. Um,
Uh-huh. Okay.
Feel like you're losing too much money, it's the lesser known large intestine, because
Okay.
there's a zone for the large intestine that goes right here,
Okay.
and that'll flare up too. And the sorry, I'm off the camera. I was going to demonstrate something. I'll just be in horse stance for a minute. But the large intestine is the feeling that the bottom might drop out, right? So anyway, we could go on about this for hours, but let
Okay.
me just
All right.
demonstrate a couple of fun things for you. And so with your abrocades with the kidney, what you'll do is as you go forward, I want you to bend your knees, stick out your butt, and you go to here. So my back still has a silverback gorilla arch.
Okay.
You guys still hear me from over here? Okay, cool. And these hamstrings are stretching, but there's no stretch in my back. That's what you don't want at this time. Okay.
Okay.
Then you gather up the chi from the earth. You bring it in the kidneys, and this is just the same. You lift, 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 and you feel like your hands are just pouring chi into here. And this is
Mm-hmm.
actually going to help stretch and restore that curvature.
Okay.
So that'll be a nice one. The other one, which we'll do again in our practice today, just I was trying to figure out what should we do in live practice. The other one is very similar to the yin and yang meridian tracing that we did in this last course, but this is its official name is down, up the yin, down the yang self massage. So all you do, and again, you have to make sure you're not flexing your spine. That's you need to keep your silver back. But what you do is on your exhales, you trace down the gallbladder and you visualize the chi going down the outside of the legs and then just releasing into the earth, any stagnation. However far you go down, if you can't reach all the way down, keeping your silver back, then you just send your mind. And on the inhale, you inhale up the yins like you're being nourished, 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 nourished. And then this last exhale, you send that chi into the dantian. And that's where you can kind of feel like you like wrap it, make the belt vessel, firm up the dantian. So then I would inhale again. I would exhale, I send whatever stagnation, pain, tension down through the yangs. Connect with the earth, the yin power, the earth's yang, whatever it is. You inhale like it's nourishing all those yin meridians. You exhale, send it into that belly center. So those are the two I would recommend for your prescriptions. And then it sounds like everything else you're doing is also going to be correct.
Okay.
So yeah, those are great questions. And they help us get into like where this meridian stuff goes. Like for you guys aren't supposed to know that. You didn't have to take notes like, oh, okay, sciatica is either true sciatica from the kidneys or false sciatica from the gallbladder. So from the gallbladder, then that's the piriformis muscle. That comes out through the sciatic narch, but no, come on. But now the words gallbladder and kidney meridian should be ringing a bell for you. And that's all you need to be a level 1 Qigong practitioner, right? Is when a student comes in and they're like, my acupuncture said my gallbladder meridian was stagnant. And you're not like, oh, what? Gallbladder isn't on your leg. It's in your, no, it's a meridian. Come on, so you just want to be conversant. Cool. So what else? Any other questions or feedback on that course? What was good about that course? What did you think was dumb about that course that we just went through this month? Tell me which parts were good, which parts were dumb. Judgment time. No, it's
I have so much judgment over here. I'm ready to share it.
I knew somebody did. Let's hear it.
No. Actually, well, one, I have a question. I don't understand what you mean when you say flex spine. I don't know what that means.
Great. So this is basic anatomical terminology, and we'll do that in a couple of classes because that's like the meridians. You need to know basic anatomy to be level 1 teacher. So in your spine, anatomically speaking, like in layman's terms, there's all kinds of words for what we do with ourselves, but anatomically speaking, this is flexion of the vertebral column. This is extension of the vertebral column when you stand back up, and this is hyperextension of the vertebral column when you do a back bend. So flex, extend, hyperextend, or some people might just call that one also extension, but usually extension means coming from bent to straight. Yeah. Does that answer it?
Yeah. Well, what was interesting, it was also interesting to me. I literally just started a class that's like about fluidity and talking like through the spine, and just started it. So I don't know anything, but the teacher was having us do this exercise that looked very much like what you were just doing. So that's, I don't know, we'll see as we continue on, like how the two feed into each other. But I already am like, okay, that looked like exactly what she was telling us to like work on in preparation for the course, and like a way that pretty much like we'll have more access to like having like a stronger core through whatever we're doing, so that we can be more fluid in our movement. So that's interesting to me. But the thing I wanted to share is actually about the month 1, because I just moved through some of the material in week 1. So I tried the old man tide pool. Like you made the suggestion, like if you think 20 minutes is like, maybe just try 10. I did the 10 minutes and I was already crying from like minute 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm doing it right. And I guess where I get confused is I know that my system is very like, it's open. It's very open. So like when I've done like that like hyperventilating breath work in the past, I've kind of made the conclusion like that's not for me, because all my stuff's on the surface, and I'm thinking like, to me it feels like that's more for people that like repress or something, to like help excavate. And so I was feeling that when I did the old man tide pool, and then the next day I was really fucked up, like emotionally so upset, which I wasn't surprised by based on what you said. But I think I was having a little trouble like trying to figure out like if this is more just like the natural process, or if it's just not for me. So I was having a little bit of trouble finding, and I don't normally have that trouble, but like finding whether that means that practice just isn't right for me then.
Yeah. So you're on the right track. And at the end of that month 1 course, I do a quick breakdown of like, okay, if you're emotional repressed, well, first make sure your client has a therapist they can call, and then give them the old man and tide pool and the journaling exercises. And don't do the old man and tide pool without the journaling or understanding, like a therapeutic process or having. I do not recommend that, because then you just throw yourself into distress, and it's like you're gonna need a lifesaver thrown at you. So that's if you don't have access to the emotions, that's the one to do to dredge them up. Then if you have too much access to the emotions, then what I recommend in there are learning the what did I call them, like self-regulation exercises or something along those lines, where we're actually learning more containment in the energy system. And that's actually what some like trauma therapists will talk about. That word specifically is containment. So instead of being flooded by our emotional experience or having to repress it, we can contain that emotional experience and then work with it constructively. So for when we're in a state where it's like, no, I've just been on an emotional roller coaster for the last year, then we don't do the old man and tide pool. Because we do the Qigong, or like the pulling up the earth energy, and you're like, oh, what feelings do I want to feel like a giant cookie and just warm and fluffy. Oh, this is going to be great, nourishing. Maybe there's some pumpkin in there or something, I don't know. And you just pull that up from the earth and nourish yourself. And a lot of our Qigong is going to be about using the practices that will balance what's alive for us. And that's kind of the alchemical model, right? So it's like, oh, I've got a lot of distress. Well, I'm going to titrate in nourishment and pleasure. Okay, well, now I'm feeling really uncomfortable, but like my relationships aren't going as deep, and I think it might be me. Okay, now we're going to titrate in some wake up calls. And so it's using that. So then the other one, I think, is also maybe in the end of that course, but I'll give you guys the slogan now. Feel free to put it in your notes, but it's the how do you know if this is the right practice for me guide. And the basic one, this comes from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. They say, if your compassionate heart is increasing and your mental distress is decreasing. Your compassionate heart is increasing and your mental distress is decreasing. Then with that, what makes it complex is that Qigong or yogic practices will have different effects over time, right? So I'm going to go on what seems like a tangent for like a minute and a half, but it's actually directly related. We talk about, like in Jim's question, I was like, oh, you could have a stagnant gallbladder or a weak kidney, and you want to know which one it is, because if you do Qigong to remove stagnation, but you are actually weak, it's going to be a problem. And at the same time, I've done Qigongs that tonify me, and I had already lit up the inner fire, and man, did those mess me up. So you kind of want to know, but there's a quick test for that one, is because sometimes stagnation, you can be feeling tired and like tired and grumpy. That can also happen when you're deficient. So the quick thing is you go do 10 minutes of really mild cardio, like go take a walk for 10 minutes, or go like, just, oh, shadow boxing on the bag. Hey, what's up? Oh yeah, slap box on the bag. If after that 10 minutes you feel great, it was likely stagnation and you've now moved it out. If after that 10 minutes, you didn't go too hard, but you get to the end and you're like, oh man, I'm still tired. Well, then it's likely deficiency. And so you can kind of assess yourself. So similarly, now that was the whole tangent, but to make a little analogy with the old man and tide pool, and with any of our Qigong practices, sometimes for a day or 3 days, they will just make us feel like total hell, because they have dredged up the gunk. It's like you poured in fresh water and all the shit at the bottom of the barrel just came up, right? So how do you know? Well, with that 10 minutes old man and tide pool, what you would look at is, a day or 2 or 3, it goes away. If at day 3 you feel better than before, like better than you have in a long time, it's likely that you just dredged out something that had to go. And so you can, and then you have to experiment again. right? It's not, it's at this point we're art, not a science. Give it another 100 years or something of research on Qigong, we'll have more science. But at this point, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, do another 10 minutes and wait 3 days and see. If you wait the 3 days, it calms down, and you're kind of like back to square one, or now you're kind of like, you have emotional material that's up and it just doesn't calm back down. You did the journaling, you talked to your empathy buddy, then it's probably not the right practice for you. And fortunately, that does calm down. It just takes a couple more days, So usually 10 minutes won't screw you up for long, which is why I recommend just take the 10. Just try that. And so, yeah, so this is the kind of way we assess it as an art, is it's like, okay, if things settle down, then you feel better than before. Well, that's kind of like a healing crisis, right? You do the liver cleanse, you have a big old breakout, but then you don't have any breakouts for 6 months. It's like, oh, well, that was a breakout, was part of your liver cleanse. You do the liver cleanse, you have a breakout, and then you keep having breakouts. It's like, oh man, I should not be taking oregano oil. That stuff is toxic, or something, something like that. So does that help speak to your question?
Yeah, no, I think it was because you brought up in there there was something about like an encouragement to do it for or like maybe it was like a test, you do it for 5 days or something. I just remember there was something where it was like there's sometimes the encouragement to like keep going through the like difficult
Right.
parts. But I do remember everything else that you said, but what was kind of coming up for me is that just remembering that I have this tendency to feel like I have to keep digging, keep digging, keep digging, keep digging. And like just realizing that that was probably what I was doing again. And because I even remember being like, maybe I should be doing the song gong, maybe I should do that one. And then I was like, no, let's dig in there. Cause I mean, I'm sure I don't know, it's something cultural, but I just have this idea that if I dig deep enough, then I'll be fine, instead of remembering like the nurturing, the soft part, the compassion part too.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds really insightful to me. I think a lot of us can relate to that pattern too. Um, One other thing is, because you mentioned 4 minutes in and you're crying, we do another exercise called the dry crying exercise. And it basically like stretches out your psoas and it induces trembling. Like if y'all haven't done, oh, what is it? The oh man, I just blanked on the name. It's one of those initial ones where you induce the shaking. Emotional release technique, is that it? ERT? I think that might be it. Oh yeah, TRE, trauma release exercise. Thank you. Um, so it's similar to that with a little bit of a breath work in it. And the rule is you do dry crying until it turns into wet crying. And then you just wet cry it out. You don't have to do dry crying anymore. So similarly, you might also be able to try that with the Old Man and Tide Pool. But as we'll get, I don't think we get to those two in this course, but one of the interesting things is for people who can cry easily, we don't give them dry crying. We give them beating the punching bag. For people who can get enraged easily, we don't give them beating the punching bag, we give them dry crying. And if you can do both of those, then you do some song gong. So there's something for everyone, but we can kind of assess ourselves, right? Like if there's no problem getting emotions to the surface, yeah, do some nourishing, do some balancing, and that's that Zen method of like, no, you let the dust settle and then you see the reflection of the moon in the water, and it's like, and that's a real powerful realization. Like, no, just stop. Don't worry about cleansing the whole time. Like every time you put your hand in there to cleanse it, shakes it up more. Let the thing settle. You can scoop the water off the top. So there's all these different ways of going about it. And we kind of try to self-assess, or, you can use me, or you can use, if you have a good therapist or something like that, because we can't always self-assess. And so that's where having a skilled mentor, or even a friend, like mentors you can trust can be hard to find sometimes. But if you have a friend who you think sometimes knows you better than you, when you hide from yourself, better than you know yourself, you can ask them like, hey, am I emotionally repressed? And like, no, you're the least emotionally repressed person I know. Oh, okay, cool, got it. And then other times you're like, hey, I'm really in touch with myself. And they're like, actually, you're full of shit. You're doing the same things over and over, and that's a nice friend to have. So cool. Anything else on that? Okay, cool, cool. All right, who is this? Marianne for Old Man and Tide Pool had to work up to longer sessions, 10 minutes, maybe nauseous. Yeah. So yeah, so you can try that, the titrating in as well. And ultimately that exercise, it doesn't necessarily, the point of the exercise is not to induce emotional distress. It's just that if there's distress in us, it'll bring it to the surface. And so that's what we're talking about. That's not always beneficial, right? Sometimes we have to build up more resource. But later, there are some folks who can do a bunch of that exercise and it's just like, oh yeah, I'm a clear vessel. Let the divine light flow through me. Wow, I'm vibrating. Wow. So you can work up to it that way too, but nothing's one size fits all. So yeah, lots of good methods in there. What else? Any other just questions or reports, things to share from the last couple months? Meridian Qigong, emotional healing Qigong. What do you say, Ginger?
Yes, a question about the Meridian Qigong. When we do the paths, and we come to the end of the lung and then you go to large intestine, the energy though, did I read it right? The energy point is lung 7 where they interchange. I was just trying to think of the connections. Didn't quite work for me because, okay, it ends here, but now I'm jumping over here and then we end here, but now we're going to jump up to here, so do the pathways, but you said it is really one meridian, right? Where we
That's right.
divide them up, but really you can think of it as one continuous flow. So
Correct.
can you kind of enlighten me a little bit on that with my little mental glitch with
So if I remember correctly, lung 11 is the exit point on the lung meridian, but lung 7 is called the lull point, and so there is a connection between lung and large intestine. And
that's a good
there's a finger and there's a finger. Here's the trick. For energetic practitioners, the meridians show up how you think about them. So if you think like, oh, it's a line that goes to my thumb. Oh no, how the hell can that line get all the way over there? Oh no. But if you think, oh, this is an energetic current that goes here, and this is an energetic current, well, then it's obviously those can intermingle. Actually, the point where they intermingle is really here at large intestine 4. This is kind of where you find that confluence energetically. But yeah, so you got to learn them as lines if you're going to stick needles in them, because you got to avoid nerves and arteries and stuff like that. But actually just think of it as this big coursing, stream of energy. And so it can be amorphous if you want. Yeah. But you can also look up, get your book. Let me get a book recommendation for you. This is one of the simpler ones that you can get pretty cheap. Fundamentals of Chinese Acupuncture. So you could get this one to learn the points, and it gives you the indications like, oh, what's a source point? What's a low point? What's an exit point? What's an entry point? That's a little more detail than I wanted in this course, because some folks are like, whoa, there's 12. I got to learn all 12. Are you kidding me? And then other folks are going to be like, oh, there's 5 element points. Which ones are for the wood element? That's my favorite. So you get the book and you can go as deep as you want into, and what'll tend to happen, the traditional style is you do just like you're doing, you do the tracing and you'll come up with questions as you feel things energetically. You'll be like, oh, well, this feels like that to me. So it, in my energetic experience of it, the chi starts to diverge right about here at lung 7 and go like this. So I would kind of feel like, yes, I'm expressing that meridian fully, but it's also making this little switch track in there. So the point is feel, and then you use your book to go back and confirm like, oh, well, what did the ancients think about this? So yeah, that's kind of fun. All right, other questions on that work? Meridian Qigong or the emotional healing Qigong or anything on the course? How are we doing? People are accessing, are you getting my emails? I'm trying to send them. I missed one this week because I was moving house, and good. And we've had most of our meetings. even though I was moving house and had a crazy, weird little schedule. So this is great. Awesome. Y'all ready to move into new material? Cool. All right. So this month's module is where you probably find out that I designed this course around basically everything I wish someone had taught me first, or like in the various like shiatsu schools and massage schools and medical qigong schools that I've taught for, like what I thought the curriculum ought to be. Like, here's what you need based on the questions as a mentor that the students would come back to me with, like, what happens when this happens? It's like, oh yeah, that wasn't in the curriculum. So all of this is in there. And this course, upcoming, the name of it, I called it the Tao of Communication for Empaths. The Tao of Communication for Empaths. And what I wanted to do in there is both give you the practices for intuitive development and how in particularly in medical Qigong, but just on the path of Qigong in general, how we work with developing the intuition. But then as well as a Qigong instructor, you need some expert communication tools. You need some expert communication tools, like some of us are massage therapists or teachers or things in other realms, and you'll know 90% of the time it's all hunky-dory, just green light communication. And then maybe not even 10%, maybe 2% of the time, somebody has an emotional release on the massage table, and then they just wake up and for some reason they decide that's your fault. It's like they make up a story about why I'm feeling this way, of course, and it's a really tricky dance, which I've done successfully a number of times. I'm still surprised of how to inform the person. That's what can come up with trigger points right behind the heart. But you start with, wow, so if I'm hearing you correctly, when I said, please turn over, you felt like that was infringing on your autonomy. Am I hearing? It's like you have to start there. Like, I honor what you're saying right now. And, what I found is when you do that, I'm not agreeing that I infringed on your autonomy by asking you to turn over in the massage that you paid for, front and back. This is sort of standard, but when you acknowledge that feeling and that story is coming up, a lot of time you find underneath, like I've had where I do this, I just reflect back. Oh, I translate what they were saying into an I statement, and I reflect it back. And then a couple minutes go by where I get to still be their ally, and they go like, oh shit, this isn't about you at all. This is about my dad. And it's like, and you can do like 10, 20 years worth of therapy just because you honored their experience while they were in a vulnerable energetic state. So these are tools I am extremely grateful to have. And before I had some of them, I definitely screwed up and missed out on some of those opportunities and lost clients, or didn't lose them, but felt awkward for 3 weeks at a time because I didn't know how to express things that are happening. So I definitely want you to have that as a Qigong instructor, because transformational work brings with it big, intense emotional movements sometimes, right? So we got to know that. We got to know how to speak about that. The other thing is that as a coach, not so much in the level 1 course, what I hope to offer you in this level 1 course is kind of how to teach a Qigong class, right? And it's going to be based on some very basic forms. And that makes your job pretty easy, because you should be able to, after this course is complete, you should be able to just jump right in and start teaching some classes. This is not meant to make you like a Qigong coach. Come for me for private lessons and I'll tell you how to, no, please don't do that. But even as someone teaching a Qigong class, you'll get some questions where you really are going to want to use your intuitive skills. And that's a benefit to your client, to your students. But there's also a subtle dance of how to communicate intuitive information without removing the agency and autonomy of the people you're speaking to. So this is big in the world of Qigong and energetic healing and holistic healing and stuff like that, is that mentors will just offer their projections and stories and genuine intuitions as if they were true for the client, right? As if they were true, as if me, from the seat of all knowing wisdom and power, it's my job to tell you how you should be doing your practice, right? So it would be like, if Jim asked his question, instead of going, well, it might be this or it might be this, what do you think? That model is, oh, well, anytime that happens, it's sexual repression. And so you've got to work on this and that and this. And I may be right. I may hit gold a number of times, but what I've done is just reestablished a weird hierarchical relationship where I tell people the answers. So how to have great intuitive skills and also not be a jerk. This is the main point of this class. And then as well, in this month's module, we do a number of techniques of how to clean out your own energetic system. These come from the medical Qigong repertoire. So like in the case where one would be working with their hands and you feel like you got slimed or something like that, like how do you get the gunk off you? And exercises for building up the kind of energy bubble. So for those who are tend toward being oversensitive, hypersensitive energetically, sensitive in a way that makes you uncomfortable, then these are the practices by which you can keep your intuition intact without constantly freaking out anytime other people are freaking out around you. Lifesaver for me. What do you think? Sound beneficial? Sound like any fun? Okay, cool. So let's do a practice, and then I don't think I'll have much else to tell you because most of that is in the archived material, but we'll do a nice practice together and we'll combine a bunch of those elements. So let me just finish my coffee. I'll tell you what we're going to practice on, and then we'll do it together after we take a break. So the elements are, we'll be doing some cleansing and purification practices. And as you'll see in the course, these are because if we're emotionally repressed or we have old unprocessed emotional material, in the Taoist view, so that's energy in your body in there emoting, and then you have to use more energy to shove that down. And according to ancient Taoist practice, they say that's the energy that could be fueling your intuitions, your like higher level sense capacities. So what they want to do is get you as resolved and integrated related to past emotional material as possible so that you have as much access to your faculties as possible. So that's cool. That's the metaphysical version. There are correlates to that in modern understandings of trauma and how it affects our perceptual selectivity and stuff like that. But that's the mystical schmystical version. So we do a lot of purifying exercises in developing the intuition, basically so that you're freeing up energy, and as well so that you have fewer little hooks for other people's energy to trigger. When we do medical Qigong, one of the things is like, if you have the same type of liver stagnation anger as the client you're working on, it's very likely, it's super weird, you'll be working along and then all of a sudden you'll just be royally pissed. And it takes a little while to learn to go like, oh, they are angry. But it feels just like the type that I have that I try not to be aware of. Okay, got it. So the more we clear that out, or even just get in touch with it, like, okay, I'm just going to be a bit of a rage monster this life. Got it, but I'm in touch with it. Then we can know what's going on. So we'll do some purification practices. Then we also have a few in this course, a couple of just direct intuition developing practices. We have an energy field generating practice that we'll do. And then finally, we'll do the self-care through self-compassion kata from my Empathy Dojo curriculum, which I hadn't quite developed yet at the time of teaching this class. So that one's really fun. So that's what we're going to do. Let's take a maybe 3-minute break, just in case you need to refresh yourself before you refresh yourself. And so I'll see you at 1:54 and we'll go through a practice session together. All right, let's start with the shaking heaven to earth. So just shake your little paws, and you can use this as a time to warm up your inner smile. So the inner smile, everything in our practice comes back to that. And I would even propose to you perhaps that all your intuitive development and emotional healing could happen just with doing a good inner smile. So now take it to your elbows. Let's see if I can adjust this lights for best video lighting. Ooh, that got a little better. And then here we go. We got balance it out with this one. I don't know. That's not much better. Oh yeah, sideways. Let's see. Meh. All right. Well, we'll work on it in the weeks to come. Take it into your shoulders. Okay, and then forward, gorilla. And backward, Jim Morrison. Hey, forward, gorilla. Smiling into those rib points, and backward, Jim Morrison. Smiling in the front chest. Okay, hands on your tummy. And at this point, you can just kind of take the inner smile through your organs. You don't have to do a pattern or anything. Just kind of just say hi. Oh, lungs and heart and livers and spleen. Just bringing that balance, love, and care into those internal organs. Good. Take one leg up. Smile through the hip, the knee, the foot, and then shake it all the way down like a salt shaker, feeling any stagnant energy rushing out through the bottom of the foot. Other side, here we go. Hip, knee, ankle, and then shake it down. Stagnation leaves the body down through the bottom of the foot. Good, let's do twist and shout. Just a gentle tap, and you can keep up that inner smile as we're tapping. These are points that you are hitting for your liver, spleen, and kidneys, the big three yin organs of the abdomen. They're sort of responsible for all of this kind of like yin nourishing grounding. So as we tap these points and smile to those organs, you really help us get down into the tummy, get the energy body nourished and warmed up. Good, let's go over the shoulder and look back. This is a great one to help clear that gallbladder. It's a bit intense if those meridians are tense in a way that causes pain, but if they're not, this is a great way to keep that gallbladder channel loose upstairs. And then, as you know, pick up the toe and you can slap the hip, and this will get the gallbladder down that lower aspect of the channel. Even perhaps turning your head to look all the way back, but never strain. Don't strain your back or your waist. Okay, next one coming up, also not to strain, our three-way stretch. We're going to inhale up, fold over, inhale up and lean back, and then pulling in chi. Hi. 2 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Leaning back. Pulling in. Hi. 1 more time. Over. Back. And in. Hi. Good. Let's pull down the heavens with a ha sound. Inhale. Oh. 2. Oh. And 3. Oh. Okay, drop into Wuji. Take a moment, just 1 minute mindfulness. Feel into the body. Feel into the breath. Feel into the mind. And all this work on clearing the emotional body, awakening the intuition, that capacity for simple presence is basically what it all centers around. Just take a moment, just being with things as they are. And then we'll practice the 1 through 4 meditation most of you learned in the alchemical immersion. If you didn't, you can go back and learn it there or copy this video. So the first is 1 is fun. You do that inner smile, but down the front of your body. So like a wave of relaxation, just washing down the front, all the way down through the face, the throat, the chest, the arms, tummy, front of the pelvis, front of the thighs, knees, legs, all the way to the toes. And the same thing, that sense of an inner smile, relaxation washing from the head, through the neck and shoulders, down the arms, down the back muscles, all the way to the sacrum and the butt, down through the hamstrings, knees, calves, and heels. Same thing from the center of the head, and it goes down through the brain, relaxes all those sensory organs, down through the throat, down through the center of the rib cage and the spine, center of the arms, smiling down through those inner organs to the bowl of your pelvis, down through the center of the thighs, legs, and feet. And just feel everything just relaxed and softened down. We want to take this lighthearted, 1 is fun means we start with this like, oh, let's check it out. Let's have some fun, do some Qigong. Just really easy. It's no big problem, no big deal. Okay, then 2 is shu. You feel as you smile into your feet, they get so relaxed, feel your feet begin to melt and merge into the earth, like your feet turn into big chi puddles. They're merging to the earth. And let that process continue. 3 is tree, and imagine tree roots growing from your feet. They grow down into the earth. They grow forward and back and out to the sides. Big tree roots twice as long as your body is tall. Use that inner smile power just to root your consciousness down in the earth. Smile and just feel down below you. Is it soil? Is it bedrock? Is it a house foundation? Feeling, smiling, smiling and feeling. Letting those roots go down and seek nourishment. And then feel the center root like a tap root as you feel gravity go straight down through your body and straight down to the core of the earth. Just goes all the way down and feel into the core of the earth. It's like the earth's alchemical center, it's Dantian. And imagine now this golden energy floods up through that tap root, up through your roots, fills up through your legs, this nourishing golden force. It comes up through your spine, all the way to the crown of the head, and then cascades down the front channel, all the way into the lower belly. This is 4 is core. Just feeling this earth energy rushing up through the legs, over the spine, all the way down to fill the belly. Like your belly is becoming like the earth's core in that Dantian, a sea of golden energy. Good. From 1 through 10 or 1 through 4 meditation, we do the 3 invocations. So as you inhale, you're going to reach up, just imagining connecting with the universe, a higher power, your higher self. As you exhale, like light pours through your body, purifying, cleansing, and rooting your awareness. Second one, as you inhale, like you connect with that higher force. And then imagine that you could just paint the walls if you're in an inside space, or create like a sanctuary, a temple to practice in, made of light. Last one, inhale, connecting with the Tao. And you feel like light and energy just streaming like a force of blessing, pouring down into your body. Feel it fill up that lower Dantian. From the lower Dantian, spread out through your entire body, filling up all the meridian channels, all the chakras, all the vessels. Even filling out into your energetic field, creating like an orb of light around you. Good. From here, we're going to go into the 6 healing sounds. And one of my students this week mentioned that in our alchemical immersion, we always do the whispered version. So we talk about it later, what are the audible and the subaudible and the silent sounds. But as you'll notice, when we do those 8 brocades, we don't go he, we go when we do that lung, we don't go so, we go so that's said to be the subaudible or the whispered version of those sounds, and that's working on like the you could say like the emotional and energetic level of the body. when you do the sounds where you intone them out loud, it's said to work a little bit more on the gross body. And the stronger vibration for some people, like we do in the Old Man and Tide Pool, that out loud vibration for some folks will move the energy more strongly. So in this course coming up this month, we do a version that are called they're called the oncology sounds. They actually use these in the Qigong medical Qigong cancer treatment centers. They are very, very strong. I'm not going to teach you those here, they're in the course, but we'll go through the audible version, the fully toned version of our basic 6 healing sounds that we normally do, except for the lung. We have to do the oncology sound for the lung because you can't do the S sound and sing it. So what we're going to do, the sound for the lungs is shang, shang, S-H-A-N-G-ish. And in this exercise, what you do is you imagine like you have like chi claws or scoops or something like that, and they go into your the organ you're working on, like long fingers of light, and they're just going to pull out any goop that doesn't want to live there anymore. So that's the intention I suggest, by the way, is not like, okay, where's all the emotion? No, it's just any energy that's ready to let go, gets let go. When you have that intention, the exercises usually benefit you more than have harsh unintended results. So just, hey, anything that wants to clear out, let it go. You're going to use the tone, and you want to feel that you make a tone that vibrates that organ you're working on. So let's try this. You can put your hands on your upper chest, or this is more comfortable for me than this T-Rex one. And you find the tone by doing a descending until the vibration makes a vibration under your hands. So I'll go, Shan, that's where mine is, a high tenor today. So you try it on mute, see where you find your tone. Okay, so once you find a tone that vibrates, and if it doesn't work for you today, that's fine. We can work on this. We've got months and months to go, but you want to see if you can get one that you can actually feel resonate under your hands. So then the exercise looks like this. You inhale, your hands of light go in, and then you make the tone to vibrate out. Sham. Once you got it, you imagine like a little portal opens up in the earth for composting. You just let go of the compost, goes down in the core of the earth or to fertilize wherever it needs to go. That part's not your problem. So I'm going to do mine 3 more times on mute so I don't interfere with your tone. You don't have to harmonize with me, nothing like that. So let's do 3 more. It's inhale, tone, and release. Very, very simple. Here we go. Okay, after your 3rd one, we'll pull down the heavens with that sighing sound. So you inhale, and this is just like clear the decks. Anything that still needs to go or anything that still needs to be flushed, you just let it go. Okay, next one is the kidneys. And if your arms are flexible enough, you can like reach around here and like you're pulling out from the kidneys, or you can feel like you go in through the front, you get the urinary bladder, you can just kind of pull from this whole zone. So it's whatever feels right to you. The kidney sound is interesting. It's chur-wee, chur-wee. Why? Because the chue sound, it sounds weirder when you intone it. So this one's slightly different. So I'll demonstrate. Let's find our tone. So you put your hands on your kidneys. If it doesn't hurt your back, you round forward a little bit. So you're kind of like a little drum back there. And then you do the descending tone again to find what resonates. Chirr. There's mine. Okay, so you find find it for you. It's not always going to be a deeper tone like that. It may be a higher tone. So you find it for you, but we do the same thing. You're going to reach in, you use the vibration, you pull out whatever wants to go, and then you just let go. So let's try one toning together. We'll inhale. Okay, and then we'll do two more on mute. So you use your and then we pull down with the sigh, inhale, and just letting go. That's just that sense of any energy that's not serving me, may it become fertilizer for something who needs it. Okay, the liver is the shoo sound. So you put your hands on your lower right rib cage. And again, you do the descending tone until you feel it vibrate for you. Shoo, there's mine. Without vibrato, por favor. Okay, so the shoo sound. So let's try it. You're going to reach in. Shoo. And then you let go. And then two more with your own tone. Okay, and then pulling down with the sigh, inhale. Then you have your heart. The speaker is on. Let me see you. Hello, iPhone. Who is that? Oh, good. They muted. Hello. Anyway, so here we go. With the heart is the ha sound, and the same thing. You're going to use the descending tone to find what resonates under your hand. So let's give it a try. My heart, that's quite high for me, but I found it right when I started. So that's my tone for the heart. Okay. So same thing, you can feel like you dig in, or you can just kind of feel like the heart expands on this one. I prefer, however it works for you, releasing any stagnation that doesn't need to be there. So we inhale. Vibrating, you let go. Two more on your own tone. Good, and pulling down with the sigh. Just releasing anything that needs to release. Okay, last one for today is the spleen and pancreas. This also helps your stomach, and it's the whoo sound. So the same thing, we do a descending tone to find your particular vibration for today. Let's give it a try. Okay, that's where mine is. So you do yours. We reach in, we're just letting go of whatever wants to release. So here we go, inhale. Two more with your own tone. Okay, then pulling down with the ha sound. Inhale. Release and let go. Okay, then I'll encourage you, you can do the next part as a standing meditation if you like. I'll recommend this idea of holding the ball here at the lower dantian, or even placing the hands on the lower dantian, or you can join me and grab yourself a seat and do this as a seated meditation. So whichever one you prefer, I prefer a seated meditation today. And this can be sitting on the floor, cross-legged, or in a chair like myself, whatever you like. So here we are. And so we cleared out the internal organs with that sound practice. And now we're just going to work on tonifying the internal organs a little bit to give rise to the next practice that we're going to do. So dropping right back in after transition. Drop right back in. Let's do the little 1 minute mindfulness. Just feeling your body, breath, and mind. Noticing what changed, if anything, what feels different after doing those sound resonations. Then we'll take our awareness into the lungs. And smiling to your lungs, and imagine and feel that you've just really just cleaned them out. Your lungs are just these beautiful, clean, energetic orbs. And then you're going to imagine that from all around the universe, a white light is shining toward you like a blessing. Some feel it like a light, some feel it like a mist, whatever works for you. And this light is bringing the qualities of that metal element of honor, of integrity, of sort of condensing and consolidating. And so on your inhale, I'll do it with my hands, but you can do this, you can use your hands if you like, but it's mostly just a mental exercise. So on your inhale, you're just imagining that white chi comes into your lungs. And as you exhale, you want to feel like your lungs are radiating with this sense of honor, of integrity, value, worth. So you inhale that white chi, like a blessing of esteem and worth and honor. As you exhale, feel your own core value, these reflections of your essence of this metal element, shining with that light, white light. Let's do one more breath. You inhale the white chi in. You exhale, you glow, lungs glow with that white light. And then just pause, let that be. Notice how you feel, notice any changes. And then bring your inner smile into your kidneys, down underneath the rib cage in the back. Imagine the universe is filled with a deep blue energy. This is shining to you or flowing to you like a mist. And it's conveying this sense of the wisdom born of silence, the water element, the feeling of depth and of concentration. When you inhale, you begin to imagine you draw in this blue light or blue mist into the kidneys. When you exhale, you see them glowing with that blue light. And you feel your own wisdom, your own depth beginning to radiate. Inhale, you pull in more of that energy. You feel it wake up your own inner wisdom born of stillness. It radiates with this blue chi. One more time. Good. Then letting that go. Just relax and feel. And smiling to your liver under the right rib cage. And again, imagining it's been just cleared out, ready, made a fit receptacle through that vibrational practice that we just did. On your inhale, you feel the universe is sending you this blessing of a beautiful green light. So you inhale that green into the liver. It's bringing these qualities of generosity and benevolence, kindness. And as you exhale, that fresh green light begins to radiate from your liver. It wakes up your own inner sense of freshness and kindness. Inhaling the green and resonating with that green. One more set. And seeing it glow, glow, glow. And letting that go. Resting for a moment. Bring your inner smile to your heart. Again, feeling like the heart has been just cleared out, vibrated open, and imagining from the universe at large, this red light is shining to you in the quality of like unconditional joy, unconditional radiance. And as you inhale, you imbibe that red light or red mist into the heart, feel it nourishing that heart organ, waking up those unconditional qualities in you. And as you exhale, that red or pink light, if it needs to be a little softer, begins to glow, radiate. You inhale and you draw it in. Exhale to glow and radiate. Do one more time. Then letting that go, just notice how you feel. And finally, smiling into the spleen underneath the left rib cage. Feeling from the universe at large, this golden light energy, and then especially from the planet Earth below you, very powerful sense of groundedness, of trust, of nourishment. As you inhale, imbibing that golden yellow earth energy into the spleen, into the pancreas, and as you exhale, it wakes up those qualities of your essence and you glow with this golden chi. And seeing as if that spleen is glowing with golden light, and then just rest again. Smile into your whole body. Feel this rainbow of energies that have been brought in, how your internal organs are now resonating with your own qualities of honor and depth, freshness and unconditional radiance, and of groundedness, nourishment. Smile down into the dantian below the navel in the center of the body. Imagine like a little pearl of light glowing in that dantian, just like we do at the end of the master sequence, if you recall that. It's a little pearl of light that's spinning and spiraling. And just imagine that this represents your most essential being. Before any conditioning or any defense mechanisms got on there, just this quality of joyfulness and compassion and participation. And imagine that as this light spins and spirals, it draws in the white light from the lungs. It draws in blue light from the kidneys, green light from the liver, red light from the heart, the yellow light from your spleen, and it begins to spiral them and fuse them all together. So these energies that you've visualized bringing in from the universe drawn in through those organs, and they now fuse together to feed your essence, to feed that deepest part of you, that innate inner knowing, that silent witness, that wellspring of peace and calm. We'll remain here for a moment, You can imagine that on your inhale, you don't have to be too specific, but just imagine that those 5 lights are flowing in. As you exhale, they condense down and they nourish that essence self, visualized as the pearl in the Dantian. And then finally, feel and imagine that this pearl is growing brighter and brighter. Your own intrinsic radiance, as well as this nourishment that's being brought in from the outside. And as it spins and spirals, see now that it's like shining rainbows throughout your inner body. They shine to all your different organs and even your energetic structures like chakras and meridians. And just imagine like the perfect energy for your body. Whatever it needs is being radiated from this pearl, shining out, filling your body with beautiful light. Could be this rainbow light, or you could even visualize it as a golden light or a white light, whatever works for you. Feel then that your inner body is totally filled with this light, and it begins to leak out through your pores. It becomes so radiant that like a mist, this light starts to shine out through your pores. As it grows brighter, it shines even further from your body. So now it's maybe even like a forearm's length away from your body. It shines out even further. And feel like it begins to make like a luminous egg around your body. So you're surrounded by an egg of light, about how far your arms can reach. Just feel this radiance from your lower dantian, from your core, forms a shield around you, forms this luminous egg of light. Take a moment and reflect upon those qualities that you wish to radiate into the world. Qualities like peace or integrity, accountability, self-compassion, whatever you wish others could have more of. Feel as if this field, this orb of light, radiates those out into the world. And feel as well that it allows in those energies that would nourish your being. And it also keeps out those energies that would distract you, so that you can sense the world, be nourished by the world, and radiate your qualities, while also having a sense of containment. Now we let that imagery of the energy bubble stay there as we complete our practice. Practice pulling down the heavens like we do at the end of our Taoist 5. So your palms are going to face the earth. Mine will be off camera for the first part. But as you inhale, you face the earth, and you flip them over and keep inhaling, facing heaven. Smooth down the central channel. And like you're tying a little drawstring, imagine sealing the chi in that lower dantian. It's like rooting yourself in your center of gravity. So you inhale earth and heaven. Smooth down the central channel. Tie the drawstring, seal the chi. And one more time, inhale. Smooth it on down. And seal the chi. Good, rub your palms. And just wash your face a little bit, helping to bring us back into the conversational mode. We can comb back the hair. This removes any stagnation from your head. Some people, when we do Qigong, the energy wakes up in these head centers, and it can be a little much. So when you comb back the hair, it helps to send that energy down along its way. Let's do a little Tarzan right here on underneath the collarbones. And then we'll do a little wise Gandalf stroking beard, and just have a feeling that you can settle the energy of your heart down, down, down to the left.
I just sent a text. We'll see what happens. Haven't heard back from him yet.
I thought maybe we were going to be doing a long meditation there. Didn't
Might as well. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, either that or he might not be able to because of like Wi-Fi. But I know with some Zoom meetings, even if you're the host, you can enter in if it's ongoing sometimes. So
Can I ask a question? Maybe one of the other students would know the answer. When you're pulling down the heavens, when do you have your hands up at the bottom to pull in earth, and when do you have them down? You go, or
About shoulder height.
do you always have them? Do you always flip them? Do you always start with them down and then flip them up, or do you?
Yeah. Yeah, you with that, what he's showing, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're grabbing earth and then you're grabbing heaven.
Okay. Thank you, Virginia.
You're welcome. Well, Janet, have you gotten through all the alchemical stuff yet? Because I know you started late. That's a lot of material. That's a lot to get through. I think because it's 3 months worth.
Yeah, no, I really haven't. I kind of, no, I sort of gave up on that. I'm just hitting, the masters and the 8 brocades and the 6 healing sounds. Because it's too much for me to take in with this course. So
With the course, yeah.
so I'm thinking I'll wait and save that till later.
Sure.
Yeah. It seems to be less confusing than trying to do too much at one time.
I would think. Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing all that.
Yeah, then it's too overwhelming. Yeah. I liked your question about the how the meridian.
Yeah, I always get stuck on these technical things.
Yeah.
So of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's more of a brain glitch, if like my brain's questioning, well, wait, and then I just,
Yeah. We're in a rudderless canoe. We're just kind of floating.
yes. Oh, it was great, James. It's good to see you.
Bye.
I don't know. We could wait a few more minutes, see if Bajin comes.
Yeah, I haven't heard back from him yet. I'm just texting his phone, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. How's everybody else's practice going? Good.
I've been slow to
Yeah.
get into a rhythm with it. But yeah, feeling it coming though.
Yeah, yeah. I like how he teaches, but you don't feel that you must do, it's very natural. And I think then it's just organic and will go the pace that's right for you as you get, as it starts to resonate with you, you'll pop. I heard this one teacher who said, first I did Qigong, then Qigong practiced me. I like that because it's kind of like, I think that's a nice way to look at it. It just ends up being natural.
Yeah.
I love his stuff. I just love how he explains it.
Yeah, me too.
And no questions too dumb. I always like that too. Oh, goodness.
Hey, anybody still here?
We're here, some of us.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Sorry about that.
Hey.
I'm running internet off of my phone while we're waiting
Yeah.
for the internet guys who won't come till Tuesday. And so I didn't know how fast that would drain my battery.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, we're back. I hope you had a good break after our practice. And so now we have a few minutes. If there's just any Q&A or any clarifications on that, I'd love to hear how was that practice for you, anything stand up, and any questions on that you have. So anything to report?
Yeah, I have I felt really good afterwards, and it was nice to just have a break afterwards. But one of the things that I experienced, not with the sounds, but what did we do for the spleen? We did the sound. Did we do
The
a
who
movement?
sound?
Did we do the movement as well?
We just did the pulling out.
Oh, the pulling out. I got lightheaded
Oh yeah.
during that one.
So that would probably be, that's a good indication of, oh, maybe some spleen deficiency.
Okay.
And so this is great. I love when we do these individual sounds and then breathing in the individual lights, because you can see the difference, and that becomes a personal assessment information. So for you, what you might try is skip the spleen sound, but do a lot more of the breathing in light, which is the tonifying, and that might actually become a really nice personal Qigong protocol for you. Yeah.
And maybe that's why, because I wasn't feeling it, like the vibration of it too. When we did the sound, I was having a hard time feeling the vibration for the spleen and the liver actually too. But
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so these are, and it's similar to that conversation we had before, right? You know, it's like if you do something you feel more tired afterward, well then that likely was deficiency. If you do something you feel vitalized afterward, it likely was stagnation. So as you go through these sounds, if you do some and you're like, oh geez, I'm woozy, well maybe you dispersed something that didn't need to be dispersed. And this practice today, it's just 3 breaths, so it's not going to hurt you, but it's also different if you do the whispered sound, the for the spleen. That may not do that because it's not aimed toward like the physical, whereas these real sung tones sometimes have more of a gross body effect. So like you could do the who sound and just clear worry emotionally with the whispered version, and maybe just avoid the vocalized version. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. It's a very good teachable moment there. So appreciate that. Okay, Marianne, I see your hand. What do you say?
Yeah, I have, it's not so much a question, it's more of a self-observation, and then I would love to get a pep talk from you about it. Is that I notice a tendency in myself, like even the movement and the sound were like, so like I could just feel it happening, like beneficial things happening. And then when we got to the meditation, it was like, oh, we're going to meditate now. You know, like, I'm going to go do something else while they all do that or something. It's humorous actually, because I have a really strong meditation practice. But I kind of do, I haven't practiced yoga in a long time, but when I did practice yoga, we would do go through the sequence of the asana, and then it was like, oh, time for Shavasana. And I'd be like, oh, I'm going to leave class early and, be productive or something. And then it's just this disconnect of like, no, this is actually the like harvest or something. I don't know. So what is happening when at the end of an active practice when we sit down and do a meditation? I'd love to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, wonderful. So there's a couple things in there that we could probably explore. One is similar, I guess this is one of my themes today, similar to what Melanie was sharing, but the opposite is that sometimes if you're doing a cleansing practice and you're like, oh, this is great. And then it's like, okay, now sit down and breathe in colors. And your system is like, well, maybe you're stagnant. Maybe you have stagnant energy that wants to keep on releasing. So that can be, as we're like, like I said before, it's not a science yet, but the art of self-assessment. What practices are benefiting me? We can't always go off of what feels good versus what, I don't always feel like cooking vegetables and making them. Nachos sounds great a lot of the time, but there are also moments where like if you've, I don't know, like, because I've been traveling, having too much of an acidic diet, and then you get a salad and it's just like, hallelujah, the system is just like cooling down, like, wow, so our Qigong can work that way sometimes too. And so if you like, I'm just remembering that your job can be kind of stressful, and so maybe it's Saturday, you just need more healing sounds, and like meditation can come later. So that's one, is when it's like sit down and gather. If your system's like, well, maybe you need more movement. Maybe you need to be taking a run. Maybe you need to be doing another round of the 8 brocades or something. So that's one. The second one that I think you point out, and this will be true for a lot of our students, is that we live in a culture that says when you're going and doing and doing and going, that's when you're good and productive and right. And when you're stopping and staying and relaxing, that's when you're wrong and lazy and slothful and hedonistic. And so some of us will also have that programmed in, and it'll just make it harder. We'll go like, oh no, I want to be getting something done. Like, no, like at least with the Qigong, I can count my reps. 1 shang, 2 shang, 3. Did we do our lungs today? Yes, we did. I did all 3 of them. Good boy. Now move on to your kidneys. Like you can count them. Whereas like, how the heck do you count meditation attainments. It's the attainment of non-attainment and annoying Zen crap like that. So, you know, but it's only annoying to that culturally entranced aspect of ourselves. So that's something to look at, that it sounds like you're aware might be in there. But even deeper than that, the cool part, which I love about this question, because it's been part of my own research lately, you may hear the expression at some point, Shavasana is the most important asana in the yoga routine, right? Or another way to put it is that everything else is all about the Shavasana. All your vinyasas and warrior ones and fives and whatever are setting you up for Shavasana. Okay, a great place to explore that is in the practice of Yoga Nidra, which I'm all about lately because my Lama has us on Yoga Nidra stuff. And one book, I don't necessarily recommend this book because I wasn't, you know, blown away by it, but you might want to get, it's David Frowley, Frawley. I'll find the title for you right now, even though I'm not necessarily recommending it, but some, you know, you throw them out there and some of you might go like, oh man, that sounds like the book I want. So, you know, I got to throw it out there. Frowley's book, The Yoga of Consciousness, The Yoga of Consciousness. But I'll tell you the cool little phrase I got out of that book, which I was like, whoa, Frowley, what are you talking about here, bro? You're rocking my world. And it was that we tend to think that gross reality, like ego to ego relationships and like ego to object relationships, waking state, gross reality, or gross state, waking reality, we think that that's real. And then that dreaming and subtle perceptual states and like yogic visionary experiences is a withdrawal from reality. So that's a partial consciousness. And that deep sleep is an even further withdrawal from reality. And so that's an even more partial consciousness. Yogic philosophy says deep sleep is more like who you really are. And dreaming and visionary states are just a slight step down from that. And waking and gross egoic consciousness is a further step down from who you really are. So according to deep yogic philosophy, we've actually got it all wrong. And this is why they say, I hope this isn't going too far into like Buddhist and Taoist yogi land for you, but it's exciting to me. So maybe I get a minute too. I hope so. So exciting. So in yogic philosophy, deep yogic philosophy, what they say is the reason why we don't remain lucid and like in a meditative state when we go into slumber, into deep sleep, is because we're so identified with our ego as reality that when the ego is there, or when the ego isn't there, we don't perceive anything. We can't even remember anything. We can't maintain consciousness. And in deeper yogas, in deep meditation, you learn to abide when there's no ego present. And this is cool because it's a non-sectarian realization. The Christian mystics, the Buddhists, the Vedic inspired Advaita, Upanishad tantrics, all of them will say that's a form of liberation when you find that there's like this permanent spacious peace that's still there even when your ego goes away. That's actually more real, because our emotions, our consciousness, our thoughts, all of that is like fluctuating. And when we identify with that, we're totally afraid all the time because it's totally destructible. Like that is the most destructible crap around. And so they say, yeah, get in touch with this other thing that isn't destructible. And thus they say like, oh, that's actually more real. That's more who you are. This other thing comes and goes. So it's kind of just a cool little flipping things on its head. And that's what comes up for me when you ask that question. If we do have a culture that's like, oh yeah, no, don't sit down, you're not being productive. But that may be a symptom of our cultural misknowing, that we think our temporary accomplishments are, if we get enough temporary accomplishments, they'll flop over and become permanent, right? If I get enough temporary ego development, it'll flop over and then I'll be a real boy, finally, Pinocchio, and I'll have an immortal ego. And so that's where some aversion to meditation can come from, is we don't recognize that, like, no, meditation is actually going home. It's not doing something more. It's actually just like taking a break from all the journeying and sojourning in the realm and actually just coming home for a minute. And so they say you can't get there if you have a bunch of habitual tensions. You can't like put on another tension and be like, calm down, Shavasana. And so doing all the yoga poses exhausts your habitual tensions so that it's likely you could lay down in Shavasana and actually go home. Okay, that's my sermon for you. Thanks for letting me get that out. Whew. Okay, cool. That related good, Marianne. I'm glad. Anything else to say on that? No. Okay, cool.
Oh,
then,
wait,
yeah.
I do.
Go for
So I don't know when exactly it happened, but somewhere between the second and third sound, I like was having a lot of trouble standing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting very lightheaded and like seeing stars and all of that. And then I was like pushing myself to keep standing up. And then eventually, and then I started getting scared. Because I was like, then it starts going through my brain, what if this is the thing that continues? So then eventually I was just like, well, I just allowed myself to sit down, and I just was telling myself, like, whatever happens, if you never can walk again or stand, those were the fears that came up. I was like, I just had to be basically telling myself that it was okay, like that I was going to be okay with whatever happened. And yeah, so that's what was coming up for me. And then it really worked for me that we switched to the sitting, because that's where I was going to be anyway. So that worked out. I want to do it again, not right now. I mean, but I like want to do it again because I want to pay attention to if there was like, was it coming up in a particular place? I'm not sure. So.
Yeah, and it could be too, like with Melanie, who also mentioned a little lightheadedness. Sometimes that's just like your system's deficient a little bit in some ways. Even we can have these underlying like Chinese medicine deficiencies that we're not even noticing. It's like, sometimes we do feel fatigued. Other times we're like, no, I'm not fatigued, but it's like you've got blood deficiency, and you do the sounds and all of a sudden it's like, whoa. So in that case, like 3 shouldn't hurt you, but feel free to do it sitting. No problem. There's no, so if you go back and do this practice, there's no necessity for it to be standing. That's just to help it feel more active for the more active types today. And then as well, if that's the case, sometimes these big verbal sounds they're getting us on a totally different level. And so you could switch to the whispered and like see, oh, how does that go? Because those are less dispersive and more regulating. And then the last one, this is just stuff for you to play with in your experimentation. Sometimes those experiences will come up emotionally. Like some of us have known, like you get hit with a strong enough emotion and like you feel like you might faint or just dissociate. Maybe that's only just those of us with weird traumas, but like whoop, out of my body I go. So that can happen, or it can actually be that you're going into a deep altered state, right? And so if you feel that happen and you're like, well, maybe I'll take the ride, then just sit or lay down. Like, no problem. I mean, these don't work as well laying down, I don't find, but like sit yourself in a stable meditation posture and try it there. And then it's like, sometimes that can be that you're actually unburdening these fears of death or change or injury. That's what's coming out of those organs. And so you wouldn't want to miss out on that. So yeah, but the whole same rule, you just start small. If you were getting it with just 3, then like, that's great. And 3 shouldn't hurt you. And then we went back and tonified afterwards. So ultimately you should be balanced out. So yeah, very cool. Like at least we know the Qigong's doing something when that happens. And yeah, so that's some fun stuff to play with in there.
Thank you.
All right, Virginia, did you have one a little while ago?
Oh, yeah, quick question. Could you combine the light, the bringing in light and then do the sound, like bring in the white and then do the shong and make it
Yes,
one exercise?
I think we might have done that in the alchemical immersion.
Did we? Oh, maybe that's why it felt like that.
Yeah, or else
Okay.
somewhere else in the course. So there's a few of
Uh-huh.
those for your notes, if you're feeling like having more.
Mhm.
If not, don't worry. But so you can do breathe in light and exhale sound. And you can
Mhm.
do that with hand motions or without, just visualizing. And then another classic one is without the sound, it's just breathing in light and then you exhale like smoke and you just
Oh.
feel that releasing. And so our first module on the emotional healing, I think I gave you the like, oh, here's the like the virtue and here's the challenging
Right.
emotion. So what you would be doing, just like we did today in 2 separate segments, is that you would imagine you inhale the honor, you exhale any stuck grief or like sadness that's no longer serving its purpose. You inhale the honor, you exhale, the like egocentric version of the emotion. So and then you can do that without sound. So there's a number of ways, and but those are the big 3 that we'll use in this program. Yeah.
I have to say that I don't ever feel much with the sounds. I kind of am not jealous, but I don't know that the Qigong, the sounds do much for me. And and I've tried numerous times. So it's something I always don't really care for because I don't feel much effect. I don't,
Yeah.
as it could be doing an effect, I just don't notice.
Well, that is
Or is it
to,
something?
to look at there. So like in this theme, that's today's theme, I guess, is I thought it was about intuitive development, but it's actually about assessing our Qigong practices. That's today's theme. There's the on the spot effect. So for sometimes you're like, oh, I did the sound, I felt this immediately afterwards. Other times you're like, no, I did all 5. I don't feel anything. But you may feel something throughout the rest of your day or throughout the rest of your week. So, I tend to call that the post-digestive effect nowadays. And so that's, it's like some things, some folks will never really, they'll tell you, oh yeah, no, I've been doing this for years. I never feel chi. Okay, cool. But then they will, if you guide them through inquiry, you'll go like, hey, but did your breath slow down? Like, yeah. Well, then you're feeling chi, bro. If you felt your breath, then what do you think is breathing you? Well, how about your thoughts? Did you have a reduced frequency or volume of thoughts? Yeah. Well, the Qigong word. So you can use the signs, even if you're not feeling like, oh, a tingle or I saw a light or whatever. Mostly what we want to induce the relaxation effect. What's it called? Relaxation response, Herbert Benson's thing. We want to shift our mood. We want to change the frequency or volume or type of thoughts. We want to change. So if that's happening, then we can assess what the Qigong did. And then from there, we will get temperature changes or we'll have the sense of the body expanding or all of this other stuff, but that's not even really necessary. So what I would do for you, is like, if there are ones that you feel a lot and you enjoy, well, then certainly, make those yours. Because why not have a little fun? But also, that's the other half of seeing how the Qigong is working, is looking at the long-term effect, or I call the post-digestive effect, right? I borrowed that from Ayurveda, because they say like certain foods, you eat them and they have an immediate effect. And then after you've digested it, they have a different effect. And sometimes those are opposite. So always important to look at all that. And it makes a fun way to play with our practices. What do you think? Did I give you I forgot what you even.
Yeah. Play around with it. Yeah, I'll do the ones I like.
Excellent. All right. Yeah. Let us know how it goes. Ms. Sharp, what say thee?
Hi there. While you were gone, there was a question that came up, and I'd like to ask it with my question too. The question was about hands being the position of the hands when we draw down the heavens, and there was a question if where they flip over, and if it's always that way, where it's hands to the earth and then flipped over and down. And someone said yes, and I was thinking, no, there's 2 different kinds. So could you explain the difference that drawing down the heavens is like this, and then the earth, and then this one with the ceiling of the chi are different? Is that right? Does that make sense?
This is such a great question, because this pulling down the heavens movement is in every system of Qigong you'll ever see. And it's not always the same exercise. And so even in this lineage, so that's across lineages, never assume you know what the heck they're doing when they say pulling down the heavens. And then even in this lineage, we got like 3 different ones that we're gonna do. So please watch and learn. Okay, so we have, when we do our 3 Qi awakening exercises, which we didn't do to start our practice today, we do hands on the dantian and gathering energy to the dantian. So they start here and they end here. I tend, instead of saying pulling down the heavens, I tend to call this one gathering heavens Qi, just to make it a little easier so we don't have like 8 things called pulling down the heavens, right? So, but that's one that people, people will do the 3 Qi awakening and then they're like doing this one. And so that would be incorrect, right? Those are 2 different exercises that look the same. Okay, the second one is the one we do often, which is when we pull down and clear with that ha sound, which I call like clearing the decks exercise, but its name is pulling down the heavens because you're pulling down. So that one, the hands just, they scoop up. They could go this way, but I tend to just kind of go like this. And it just clears the decks. Okay. Then this last one is specifically for sealing the energy. It's also an exercise one could do on their own. But so this one, you're gathering the energy of the earth. So that's why the hands are down. So it's different than, this is just kind of like stretching out and then it's like the divine waterfall. So there's not a lot happening in these parts. It's just getting your hands up here. In this last one, it's gather the earth around here somewhere, gather the heavens, fuse it all together, and seal it up. Yeah, so three different exercises. If you got more complicated in advance, they'll visualize the 5 element colors coming through their respective fingers. So you're gathering the 5 elements from the earth, and then the 5 elements of the heavens. And so you can kind of see how the vibe, because all this is just poetry, it's just body poetry, right? So vibe is like, yes, I am sealing the chi now. Haha. Your little hand mudra is made to have this sense of like containment, and then it's using this belt vessel in this circular kind of fashion to have this sense of containment. It's hand over hand to have this sense of containment. So that's that poem, right? It's earth and heaven, containment, 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 and bring it all down. This poem is from my center of power. The entire universe comes in and fills me up. This poem is from all around. I'm clearing the decks. So they're just each, kind of designed to be different archetypal movements. Does that speak to what you're asking? Cool. Is that clarifying for other folks? Because it is like, wait, which pulling down the heavens are we doing? Yeah. And if you go through this course, but like some of the stuff in the alchemical immersion and etc., you'll find some of these go in specific places. So like this one, I only personally do at the end of a meditation practice to like gather and seal all the chi. So you'll only really see it there. The clear the decks one I'll do in the middle, and then that first gathering heaven I'll only do at the beginning. So you'll kind of get a sense of like which one's gonna come. Okay. Anything else on that? We're in overtime, by the way. If you need to jump off, then that's not disrespectful in overtime, but we will end in a couple minutes. But let me just check, is there anything else that needs to squeeze in before we go? Okay, cool. So I'll send out emails. Again, the basic, watch those videos in whatever schedule works for you. But the basic is, take them an hour and a half at a time, right? So this one is also broken up into 2 videos. Watch the first half of video 1 this coming week. Do whatever practices you draw out of that, or just do this practice that'll be posted on an unlisted YouTube. And then you'll go through that. Then you do the next 90 minutes. And it'll be fun. There's some variations of what we did here. There's a couple different things and a lot of like journaling stuff, relational stuff. And I recommend this one because there's a little more like cognitive, is write down whatever questions come up or like rebuttals or things you don't agree with, and let's bring them to next month's live meeting so that we can actually chat about that if there's something. So try some of the exercises, and if there's something that's like just not doing it live, if you want, like bring it to the next month's meeting and we can just do it live. So that could be really fun, I think. All right, have we done it?
I have a question about next month in person. I'm not sure if you emailed the confirmation of where the location is yet.
Oh yeah, so thank you. I almost forgot about that. I believe this year I am going to make our autumn retreat online because we are still weird COVID apocalypse times. And so I don't want to encourage people to travel personally. And the retreat center that I wanted to host it at isn't open for workshops yet. So we can't do it at the hot springs. And I was like, well, then why should we even call it a retreat, man? So I would like to have you do this one from home. Or the other trick is if you need a retreat, then rent a retreat hut and go do it there, right? Get a place with, if you need to get out of your house. But this is also kind of nice because then I can use last year's format, which I will send you out an email about, which is the 4 periods a day meditation retreat format. And last year that worked really, really nicely. It's not as fun as being together in person and eating meals and hugging. But I think this is just the safest until we figure out like what's the trajectory of this business that's going on. This will be the safest way to take care of each other. So that the format is like, I forget the timing, I'll remember it soon, but we do a morning practice, midday practice, an afternoon practice, and an evening practice. And so this is really very a fun way to do it. And it's mostly practice oriented. It's not going to be a lot of like downloading new information, but it's going to be meditation practice. So yeah, so that'll save you some travel money. It saves me some from hugging you, unfortunately, because that I'm really good at that. I did all these gym exercises in case you wanted a bear hug. But we will do our final retreat in person, and we'll just do whatever precautions we need to if this is still a thing at that point. And yeah, but it'll save you some accommodations costs. So those of you who didn't already pay in full, that's just the retreat then is just $300 because there isn't any facilities fee unless you rent yourself a cabin somewhere. So that's a little cost saving. And yeah, and I'll send you guys some info on that. So we have this month's module, and then first part of September is just off, so you can catch up on stuff if you're behind. I assume we're going to get behind at things. So you get a little catch up period, and then the retreat is just be in there. I will teach you a new set in the retreat, but it's not one that you get tested on or anything like that. It's just for you. And then we'll also be reviewing a lot of our master sequence and 8 brocades and stuff like that. And so it's a great integration time, as well as a lot of meditation. So that's the plan. I hope it's not too disappointing because we're still going to have major fun. I know it's a little disappointing, but just get people to wash their hands more or something. Come on. Now we got retreats to do. So yeah. Anything else? Any other questions? Thanks for mentioning that. I almost forgot. All righty then. So I'll open up that course for you. Unless you need to send me a monthly payment, then get that in when you can. And then otherwise, of course, you'll be in on Monday, and we can maybe tomorrow evening, depending on my schedule, my internet, and then we can just get rolling. And I think you'll really enjoy this course. Drop comments if you have questions, save them for your one-on-one meeting, put them in the Facebook group, whatever you need to do. And I'll see you then. Bless you. Happy practicing.